Hello, my people. This is your Dr. Mwanguzi Shadrach from Health Touch Uganda. Today is a very nice day, and it's such a special day where I'm going to be sharing with us something that's very instrumental, something that's very important for every one of us. I know many of us are diabetic or live with people that have diabetes mellitus, or have heard maybe over the radio, watched over the TV, or gone through hospital and have seen people who have been diagnosed with an illness called diabetes mellitus. And some of us actually know something about diabetes mellitus, but most of the people out there actually either know very little or know things that are not right about this illness. And that's why at Health Touch Uganda, we dedicated this entire month to create nationwide awareness about this illness, and that's why I am here today. I'm going to be very elaborate, and I'm going to use a very simple language, because the aim of this video is to help everyone understand what exactly it means to have diabetes mellitus, how this illness comes about, the things that bring it, the things that make one at a risk of getting diabetes mellitus, the types, the different forms of diabetes mellitus. I'll also talk about the things you feel in your body when you have diabetes mellitus. I'll also, not to threaten you, but talk about the things that can happen to you, the severe damages that you can sustain just in case you have this high glucose level or diabetes mellitus and you don't do anything about it. I'll talk about the things you can do to prevent it, the things those that have it can do to ensure that this glucose level doesn't go beyond the normal and they don't get the severe complications that come as a result of an uncontrolled high sugar level. So it's quite big, and for those of you who may have questions, or in case I hint on something and you would want it to be elaborated more, you will just find this, you will just comment wherever you find this video, especially on our official media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, YouTube, and it's Health Touch Uganda everywhere. You can place in those inquiries, those questions, those submissions, and we see how to address them, respond to them, and also learn from you. If you are someone that lives with diabetes or has looked after someone with diabetes in a while, and there is a form of experience you would want to share with the world, this is an opportunity that you could use to share with us so we can also learn from you. I'll just tell you that Health Touch Uganda is an organization that's based here in Uganda, and it's inspired by the knowledge gap between our society and what is supposed to be known according to the medical fraternity. And this is what brings us to share on a daily basis health-related information freely to our people. We also know there are a number of illnesses that can be prevented merely by knowing about them. Just knowing about that illness can make you go to a health facility and get checked. And if you found with it, that is the most important step in as far as treating it is concerned. Some people fear going to health facilities because they fear bad news. How about if I go and they tell me I have a very serious illness that's going to take my life? I would rather, my friend, once you have an illness, whether you get to find out or not, it will be there. And it will be unfortunate that the only time you may find out that you have it may be late, when you've sustained severe complications that are either going to cost you a lot of money and time to treat, or even cost your life. So no one really wants to reach that step, and that's why we emphasize a lot things to do with health education, because through that we empower you so you can prevent some of those illnesses. Most of the illnesses that torture our people are actually preventable. But if you did a survey to find out what people actually believe concerning different medical conditions out there, my friend, you can laugh. That is, if you know, you can actually laugh, because some of the beliefs are really wrong. They lead into people taking wrong steps, that actually cost most of those lives, which is unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. But for today, we are going to be sharing about diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus usually goes hand in hand with another illness called high blood pressure, and that's why the whole of last month we dealt more onto creating nationwide awareness as far as high blood pressure or hypertension is concerned. We uploaded a lot of videos and beautiful information on our social media platforms. These are things you could find out. Just go to your YouTube, type in Health Touch Uganda, and scroll through. You will see a playlist called Hypertension Awareness, and you will see all those videos. You can also see the videos on Facebook. When you go to Facebook, type in Health Touch Uganda, you will see our page and you will see all that information, or Twitter, Instagram, or even WhatsApp. For WhatsApp, you can join any of the groups. We have a number of the groups running. You could join any of the groups by sending a message to 0753924896 and request for a link to one of those groups. When you reach there, be humble. Don't post very many things that are especially not related to the aim of the groups, because it might result into you being removed from the group. Just inquire about health, share relevant health related information or information of national importance, and you'll be good to go and good to stay. But for today, we are going to talk about diabetes mellitus. Now, what exactly does it mean when I tell you you have diabetes mellitus? When I tell your mother she has diabetes mellitus? When I tell a relative or any other person that they have diabetes mellitus? I will talk about two things to start with. I'll talk about glucose or sugar. I'll also talk about insulin, a hormone produced by the pancreas. Pancreas is a part of your body found in the tummy. In Uganda, we call it a nuni. It produces many things, among which insulin is part, and this insulin is a hormone. There is a misconception. When most people are told they have high sugar levels, diabetes, the thoughts run very fast onto the sugar we put in tea. One day I was interacting with one of my clients and told him, you have diabetes mellitus. I checked his sugars and I found them high, and he also had other symptoms. So I told him, you have diabetes mellitus, an illness that causes high sugar levels in blood. He said, Musao, you must be joking. I am a poor man. I only take tea rarely, once in a while. Where in the world could I have got this high sugar level that you're telling me about? And there are actually very many people who think and believe the same way, that when you take a lot of sugar in tea, you're going to end up with diabetes mellitus. Or when you are someone that doesn't take that doesn't take sugar in tea, or just very little, you are very safe, you will not get diabetes mellitus. That's not true. The sugar in tea has a component we call sugar. That sugar we put in tea has a component in it that we call sugar, and it just carries the entire name as sugar. But this component can be found in other foods as well. For example, the yams, the cassava, the maize, the posho, rice, they all have this component called sugar. When you eat food, this food that contains carbohydrates, it will be broken down into smaller food particles that are digested further to form these sugars. It's the sugars that cross from your intestines into your blood. The intestines are surrounded by blood vessels that carry blood in them and go on picking the things you have eaten. And so if you have eaten a meal of carbohydrates, these sugars are going to be picked in blood and they'll be transported to other parts of the body where they will either be used to produce energy or stored for future use, just in case you take a longer time before you eat. So that means actually sugars are very important because they are like fuel. This sugar or the glucose is broken down by your body to produce energy, the energy that helps you to do other things on a daily basis. It's like how the car uses fuel to get the energy to move from one place to another. Even your body, for the cars, some of them may use maybe like petrol. Your body does not use petrol, it uses this glucose to get the energy. That's why when you take a lot of time without eating, your body will become weak. You will not be strong enough to do certain activities. And after eating, you will feel rejuvenated and you'll be able to work again like any other person. And that's why they are very important. Of course, there are other sources of energy. There are other forms of fuel. For example, the fats, the proteins. The body can use them, but it finds it more convenient to use the sugars before any other source of energy. And that's why you actually need these sugars very much. Like we say, too much of anything is always bad. When the amount of the sugars in your blood exceed a certain level, it becomes disastrous. How does that happen even? Now, this hormone called insulin, whenever you eat a meal of carbohydrates, it's released to ensure that the excess sugars that we are trying to pile up in blood are removed. This hormone facilitates the movement of sugars or glucose from the blood into the different parts of your body. I'm talking about two entities. I'm talking about the blood that keeps flowing within the blood vessels to the different parts of your body, and I'm also talking about the parts of the body or the body itself. In simple language, I can call them cells of the body. The sugars in blood are disastrous. We need them. We need some of them to be inside. Now, if there is a problem with the way they get inside, they will remain outside. Most of them will remain outside, and it will cause the overall level of blood sugars to go high, which is also a condition we call diabetes mellitus. Yep, that is it. So that's diabetes mellitus. It has nothing to do with the sugars you take in tea. It has nothing to do with the different sugar. It is an illness. It is an illness. It's a disease condition that causes your blood sugars to go high, abnormally high. It's God is making that most of the important processes that take on in our bodies that are necessary to keep us alive and going take place automatically, even without our awareness. Like when you're sleeping, some of these processes keep going on without your control. Your body is designed in a way that it shouldn't let blood glucose levels to go above normal. Every time the blood glucose level tries to go above the upper limit, insulin is released, and it helps in transporting the excess glucose into the blood cells, into the body cells, or into the different parts of the body where it is going to be used for storage or utilized to produce energy. Oh, that is diabetes. That's diabetes mellitus. So one would wonder, why diabetes mellitus? In the face of the pandemic, why are we choosing to talk about diabetes mellitus? Of all the illnesses, yes, it's very important for us to talk about diabetes mellitus. It's one of the leading causes of death worldwide, even in our settings, by the way. It was established that in the year 2019, 1.5 million people died as a result of diabetes and its related complications. That's quite a big number. And it was also established that 422 million people worldwide were living with diabetes mellitus, and majority of these people are found in the low and middle income countries. Yes. Here in Uganda, if you counted 100 people and measured their blood glucose, you will find 10 of them with elevated blood glucose, or people who qualify to be called diabetics. That's quite a big number. But that aside, the most unfortunate thing is majority of the people that live with diabetes actually don't get to know that they have it, only to present with severe complications in hospital. For example, if you went out to the streets and measured every person that passes, and then isolate those that you find having high glucose levels in their blood, and then collected 100 of those now and asked one by one to find out if they actually knew that they had high blood glucose, you would be surprised and shocked that only a few of them would be knowing that they had high glucose levels or that they were diabetic. 68 of them would not be aware. It would be news to them. 68 out of 100, it would be news to them that they actually have high glucose levels, that they are diabetic. And yet, the most important step in as far as treating a certain illness is concerned is you getting to know that you have that particular illness. When you don't find out, of course you will have symptoms, but you will continue either to live on normally trying to be hard, or you will seek for solution elsewhere, and you will be lied to. People will give you funny things. They will relate the cause of your illness to funny things, which will not save your life. But the moment you find out that you have this particular illness, you will be forced. Some people fear or are lazy. You may not do it on that particular day, but it will keep in your mind, and one day you will be forced to go and seek for medical attention. So that's why we come up with such sessions to teach you about the different aspects concerning a certain illness, because we want you to understand what exactly that illness is and tell you the symptoms or the things that you're meant to feel in your body once you have such an illness. And so you will be able to relate what we are telling you and what you feel in your body, and that will inspire you to go to a health facility and seek for medical attention. And it's not that for most of the medical conditions where you are not going to be told to take medicines. Even with this diabetes mellitus, there are people who are in a category that we shall not give medicines to swallow or insulin for injection. No, we shall just advise you on how you have to modify your life now, the things you need to do, the things you need to live, how to ensure. And for some people it perfectly works out, but because you fear or because you are ignorant, you will not be able to access all this. Why? Because you have not taken a step. And that's why we encourage all of you to give the due attention to such messages, to take heed to whatever we have to say, to not miss out on this useful information. If you can spend hours on Facebook checking for funny things, let it be a practice that you take up to spend just about 10. Some of our videos are actually as short as 5, but they contain very beautiful information that can save you from wasting time and money, or spending time and money in treating illnesses that you would otherwise have prevented. So that's why we are talking about diabetes mellitus this time round. I just encourage you to follow us on Facebook, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to like us, to follow our Twitter, follow our Instagram, join any of our WhatsApp groups, so you can keep in touch so that whenever we upload a new video, whenever we post some new information, you actually receive a notification, and when you get time, you'll be able to check that out. So that's diabetes mellitus. What causes diabetes mellitus? I'll tell you that there are things that cause diabetes mellitus which you may not have control over. One of them is the family history. The kind of family where you are born sometimes is responsible for your having or for your increased risk of getting certain illnesses. Just like it is for hypertension, even in diabetes, there are some people whose blood or whose DNA or whose lineage, how better can I put it for you to understand, but let me just leave it as blood. For them, in their blood or in their family line, it's easy, according to their genetics, according to their DNA, it's easy for them to get diabetes mellitus. And that's why when you are someone who belongs to that category, you're supposed to take extra precaution so you don't actually, most of the times, these risk factors don't work independently. The risk of the family may be combined with the risk of being overweight, and you get diabetes mellitus. So that's why when you have a predisposition in your family, you're supposed to pay extra attention, to take extra precaution so you don't get such an illness. Yes, I talked about the pancreas. The pancreas is found in your abdomen. I told you it produces a hormone called insulin, in addition to other roles it plays in breaking down the food that you eat. When the pancreas gets damaged, so anything that comes to damage the pancreas, sometimes they can be infections, sometimes it can be an illness that causes self-destruction of the body. There are illnesses like that which make the body break down itself. You've seen people with white patches, maybe in the head or any part of the body. Someone is dark-skinned, but all of a sudden they develop a patch that is discolored, like for a white man. Here in Uganda, especially in the central part of Uganda, people have a belief that the twins in that person's family have actually burnt him. Yeah, but it is an illness where the body destroys itself. So for that example I've given you, the body is destroying its skin, but it can be another part of the body. For example, it can be the pancreas. It can actually happen even to the kidneys, to the heart. Any part of the body can be attacked by the body itself. But if it is the pancreas, where the body is attacking its own pancreas, it means a part of that pancreas is going to be eaten away. But actually, even the whole of it can go. But when that happens, it means your sugar, you're not going to have enough insulin. So when you eat your meal of carbohydrates, most of these sugars are going to remain in blood because there is no carrier for them to enter the different parts of the body, which is the insulin. So an illness that causes self-destruction of the pancreas can cause diabetes mellitus. Alcohol consumption. Did you know that alcohol can actually damage your pancreas? There is an illness we call pancreatitis. It can be one that comes all of a sudden, or it can be one that takes really a long period of time. You have it for a long period of time. But either way, it means there is destruction taking place in the pancreas. And if it is not attended to properly, you may end up with a destroyed pancreas, which might result into diabetes mellitus. For people who are overweight, when you are overweight, your body eventually becomes resistant to the insulin. That for someone that has a functional pancreas has a lot of insulin that's coming in, but the body is resistant to the insulin because you are overweight. Whenever you become overweight, it predisposes you to becoming resistant to the insulin, and that's it.